Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
TikTok.
live on Twitch now, yeah?
Twitch is live. Hi,
Twitch is
everyone.
live.
We did a
Hi.
5-minute countdown. We did the first question. We did a bunch of things. We've been live for 11 minutes, but TikTok, the joke that it is, stopped us from going live on Twitch. So TikTok got that first 10 minutes.
Such an attention hog.
Ah,
Why is it so needy?
why is it so needy?
It's always been that way.
I think TikTok. I mean, if
It's
there's ever a, if there's ever, yeah, I can hear me now.
First it gets our youth, then it gets our tech.
You're not doing headphones. I don't know why it's changed where all of a sudden
Oh,
I can kind of hear me.
I'll put on headphones.
It's all right at the moment. And we're live, says chat. That's how I noticed that something was up, amiss. I was like, wow, chat's really quiet. Yeah, we tried to go live on TikTok simultaneously, and it content blocked. I was going to say cock blocked. It cock blocked Twitch. So we're only one question in, and I'll ask it again. And Pierce is so good with his answer. Essentially, hi everyone, roll on in. Oh, I did a bunch of shout outs to all the people that followed, like Irish Love 13, Say Zero GP, Miss Jinx, Horgus Borgus Deluxe, Tired Art Friend, or Tired Art Friend, we'll never know. Telazard, Athen, Malul, Albac, Roast Beef, Jays. I don't know what that is. Really excited.
I do.
Oh, Malul says, hello, this is exciting. Yay, fantastic. I did a bunch of housekeeping, but that shit's not important. Poor Piers had to get stuck with 5 minutes of me talking about the new Patreon tiers. Essentially, we've got a Discord. Head over there. Oh, Tired Art Friend. Is it Tired Art Friend, or are you a Tired Dart Friend? Are you like putting darts in tires?
I think it's a Tired Art Friend.
Tired Art.
I mean, all the artists I know are tired. So.
Yeah, or there's nefarious people who are like puncturing tires with darts.
I don't know as many dart players as I do artists.
That's true. I'm an artist! All capitals, okay?
Yeah.
Um,
That's why they're so tired. They've been screaming that for years.
Yeah, leave the tires out of this. A shout out to those in book club who have decided to join in book club. With Q&As, we do not open it up, but you do have that show chat, and I've got that open as well. Members are able to submit questions directly to the author. I've got the doc open. People like KP Dub, Snake Liquid, Peachtree, Catch22, Vaden, Seb, Jimmy have all submitted questions, which is really, really cool. If you want to be a book club member, head over to patreon.com/Maude's Book Club. Tomorrow, we're launching 3 tiers. We've just got the one at the moment. We are launching another 2 so that you can be passive, active, or interactive with the club. And one of them is to be decked out in Maude's Book Club merch. The details will be announced later. We also have a really, really special giveaway. Members get extra entries. We do all that through the Discord as well. So if you haven't joined up with the Discord, now's the best time to do it. Avery says, join our book club. It's a great time. Snake Liquid, first time chatter, says, nice. And a shout out to all those who are joining. Telazard did it. The Orata, DMF, all joining in, which is really, really cool. Make yourself at home. There are locked channels. If you want them all unlocked, become a member. $5 a month is the smallest one. Excited to announce those new tiers. But Pierce, sorry. Let's do the first question again. That was my bad. Fuck TikTok. The question that I asked was, you managed to release Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morningstar in quick succession. And my question was, did you write a huge idea that you realized could be split into a trilogy, hence the quick release, or did you have your concept and you were able to expand it so thoroughly within Golden Sun?
To be honest, a little of both. And I'm glad I listened to your question a bit better this time.
Oh, that's interesting, because like when you answered it the first time, you said that's a really great question.
Yeah, well, I've always heard the listening is
overrated.
Something I can work on. Yeah, overrated, right? It's a bit of both. You know, I'd written 6 novels before Red Rising, and none of them could even find representation. And so I wasn't extremely enthusiastic about writing a trilogy without it being purchased.
Yeah.
And so I wrote Red Rising, and I had the idea of the greater world that Darrow lived within, but I wanted to show a keyhole look into that world. Many of my favorite, and I'd say the audience's favorite, sci-fi and fantasy epics all begin very small, whether it's in the Shire or on Tatooine in a farm. You know, I wanted to start small and really understand our character and understand the characters. And it was also Red Rising was structured as a bit of a Trojan horse because people weren't buying space opera, and they were buying young adult style novels. And so what I did was took this world that I wanted to create and the story I wanted to create and thought to myself, how can I get it actually purchased? How can I get it made?
Right.
And I wanted to jump in with Red Rising as opposed to jumping in straight away with Golden Sun, because there's a bit, especially with science fiction books are a small niche when compared to fantasy books. They sell far less. And so I think it was imperative to me to stress the fantasy elements of it, not get immediately into spaceships and not get immediately into the far-flung terraformed society, and to get into these really human elements that felt very science fantasy as opposed to science fiction. And so Red Rising began with a single line. It began with, there is a flower that grows on Mars. It is red and fit for our soil. It is called Haemanthus. It means blood blossom. It's the first thing I wrote, never changed it. And I don't know where that necessarily came from. I think I would go to these, I would go to flea markets and buy old books. And I got this old botanical book, like this British Encyclopedia of Botany. And I saw the word Haemanthus in there. And it was like, it woke something up in me. And I could just imagine, flower growing in the dust on Mars. And then it just started waking up all these other thoughts and, the other inspirations that I've talked about before. But yeah, Golden Sun was always part of the world, but the overall structure and plot and things like that were things that were hashed out in 2013. Because Red Rising came out in 2014, but it was bought in 2012, and so I had time to work on the sequels before the first one was out.
Got it. Do you find that writing in succession is easier than having a break, cleansing the brain palette?
Yeah. Well, when you're in your 20s, and you're in my 30s now, I think I sometimes need a bit more of a respite. But in your 20s, you're just a steam engine. And so I found that to be pretty helpful,
Red Rising, obviously, you were saying, quite contained. We are talking more school relationships, going through an institute, befriending people, survival mode. This is something that everyone can relate to because there is a time in all of our lives where school does feel like the be-all, end-all. We don't know what happens or exists outside of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's in many ways, Red Rising is the exploration of my high school years. And then Golden Sun is the exploration of the disillusionment I felt when I left college.
Yeah, right.
You think these jobs are going to be waiting for you? You're studying microeconomics, and they treat you as though you're going to be there standing, pulling the lever, pull some important job in society, and then you get out, and all that was there was unpaid internships.
Apparently it's frozen now. Maybe it's not TikTok. Maybe it's me.
It lagged for a second for me, maybe about 10 seconds, but it
did lag?
Yeah, it
only
did
for
lag,
a second, they're saying.
Only for a second, though.
Just the usual tech issue, says Oddball. Yeah, sounds about right for me. Sounds about right. It's back on, everyone's saying. Cool. I see familiar names here. It fully went offline for a second. It made a new stream. Unbelievable. Not this end, but we've lost the follower count. That's fine. As long as we're still going. Golden Sun takes a huge leap and bound. You were saying that, we had to go contained and then you got full big picture. Reading Red Rising was like, this is amazing. And I remember when I had the Q&A with you about Red Rising, and you can find snippets of that on the YouTube page. And I go, what can I expect? And you just had this it wasn't nefarious, it was sinister look in your face. And you were just like, just you wait.
It's when you could tell the jackals would chip off the old block.
Yeah. The pacing in this book is nonstop. You do not let up. It is not about having killer and filler moments. It is about feeling starved for air because you aren't allowed a break to breathe. And then the moments that you do still offers so much information and insight. How were you able to kind of one-up yourself in such a way and bombard this book with action and information and story and plot progress?
One of the ways is having a great relationship with my editor, Mike Braff.
We love Mike.
He was only a great guy, and he was only a few years older than me, and he got Red Rising from another editor. So I was actually brought in by another editor at Random House. That editor then left to do something else in the book world, and so Mike came on and inherited Red Rising. So Red Rising was pretty much baked from the get. Didn't have as much structural changes or anything like that, but Mike was there for the creation of Golden Sun and was really able to keep me on task, because left to my own devices, I will bloat a book out with world building. And a lot of that is not trusting the audience to makes you believe that you haven't given proper information for them to understand the world or understand the setting or to feel stakes. And Mike was very good at telling me they understand.
Got it.
Cut off this part, trim the fat. And so Mike helped trim quite a bit of the fat on that, even in the general tone. And also what's unique to Golden Sun as opposed to Red Rising is there's far less passing tones. Passing tones are those moments where things are being described, but there's not really anyone having any sort of initiative.
Mm-hmm.
The trek was long and arduous. Yeah, to a degree like that. But even in the quiet character moments in Golden Sun, they're structured to be active.
Yeah, they pack an emotional punch.
But what's also really special about Golden Sun is the natural tension that comes with having a inside man story, a Donnie Brasco situation. If you look at any deep cover movie, they crackle with tension because the characters having to usually do something doesn't necessarily fit their overall morality. And so the character is always being pulled apart in every scene. And then there's always that tension of,
yes,
do the other people know that he's a double agent? Are they going to find out? And so Golden Sun crackles with an unusual amount of tension and is unique in this series because of that.
Yeah, and you weaponize secrecy.
Yeah, so you weaponize secrecy, but then you also get to have everything, even the action, be character building moments. Particularly when you think about, okay, so this morality doesn't line up with where my character is initially, but then he has to do it for the overall mission, right? To free the Reds. Yet then some of the Reds aren't even giving him the accurate story. And so he then goes to war emotionally against Harmony's advice at the gala, her command of what Ares has to do. And so you get all these different, how would I say it? Imagine your character to be putty, and you just have all these different fingers pulling him, stretching him thin, right? And you're just waiting for that moment for him to snap.
Yes.
And I think that's what's unusual about Golden Sun, is all these people are trying to mold this bit of putty or clay.
But he's also desperate for information. Like, he's so isolated, having been on his own for years. He doesn't know who Son of Ares is. He's just he's just looking for some guidance, and he's wearing the weight of this revolt on his shoulders. And as soon as he kind of is starting to get integrity, a sense of self, allies, Harmony comes in and, completely emotionally manipulates him in her form of sort of like that putty pull, as you say.
Yeah, and look how many masters he has. He has Nero, and then Octavia in a way. He has Harmony, Ares in a way, and there's all these mysteries behind motivations of people. So the mysteries behind the motivations of others, even sight unseen, can lend a very tense atmosphere to the story.
Yeah.
So even in the quiet moments, imagine, Mustang in the mines with Ragnar, and there's a lot of moments like that. There are quiet moments, but filled of tension because it's revealing of information. So you don't have to have gunfire to have those moments to be just as intense as a gunfire.
Last week, we did a dramatic rereading of that particular moment that you mentioned in the mines with Ragnar. Yes, because his monologue of why he's set the course in motion, why it was important for him, and what made him different to Mustang, who bleeds gold still at this particular stage. And a fantastic, great moment. There's just so much happening. And because I somehow wasted the first 10 minutes with a 5-minute countdown and with a bunch of housekeeping, and we are on the clock, I'm going to power through these questions. Now, Pierce.
Do it.
I need you.
I'll be concise.
That was my word. A little bit more concise. KP Dubs. KP Dubs wants to preface some context by saying family moments are his weakness. He will always cry. So wants to know, did you cry when you wrote the scene with Darrow and his mother?
Yeah, I never had to rewrite that scene. And I was struggling to figure out how to write that scene. Then I just had this epiphany that Darrow's mother would recognize him and she'd be the only one to do that. I still feel that
I'd know my boy anywhere.
Yeah, that one was, as soon as I had that moment, it was very easy to write. Yeah, I cried.
It's almost like, if I'm speaking for me, and I wonder if it's the same for you, but moving out of home, for me, it was a country, and wondering if my parents would even recognize the woman I've become because I left so long ago. Do you get that?
And then be like, there's Maude. Yeah, it also was very reminiscent to me of that moment in the great movie Legends of the Fall when Brad Pitt comes home after like 11 years of being
It's Mum's favorite
traveling
movie.
the world. I bet that's yours.
Yeah.
And yeah, and his dad is waiting for him. And his dad has had a stroke since he's last seen him, Anthony Hopkins, and has to write on the board, what he wants to say to his son. And then Brad Pitt's expression breaks down crying, seeing his dad, because seeing your parents when they get older is hard enough. But
Okay, time out. Next. Okay. Next. KP Dub says, "Yep, totally got me good." Clearance Captain America says, "Oh, Darrow's mother is the mum we all wish we had." Peace says, "Best chapter in the series." Next question. Now, Snake Liquid's got a few, so I'm going to intersperse them.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot, and it's specific, and it's not one question. It's like 3 questions within it. Let's start with the first one. Was Fitchner always Ares, even during your earliest drafts of the story?
yes, he always was. I thought that it wouldn't be interesting unless he was very close to the story. And if you look at certain things that Ares does, Fitchner does while in the Institute, he's trying to dissuade Darrow from trying to win it all. He says, "You're good enough." He just wanted him to get under Lorna Arcos's wing. That was good enough.
Yeah.
He didn't have to win and put himself in the way of the Arch-Governor.
Okay, good point. Also, Mars, House Mars, area. Yeah.
Yeah, it's somewhat.
Beep! Did you have a list of potential candidates for who could have been Ares, or was there ever an earlier version of this point? No, I guess not.
Never.
Great.
No.
How and why did you come to select Fitchner as the choice for Ares?
I wanted it to be a gold who didn't fit in with the other golds. I wanted it to be someone that Darrow interacted with and learned from. And I wanted to be someone who has virtues but is contemptible. And even Darrow found himself disliking Fitchner for the ways that he didn't fit into the golds. If you look at Fitchner's appearance, his body type, his mannerisms, all very much like Severo, designed to create a wall to reject people before he gets rejected himself. And I thought from that sensitivity, from that outlier, is where Ares should be born.
Even Darrow was so brutal about that in Red Rising, highlighting the fact that you're not taking digestibles to stay in shape. Look at what of a slob you are.
Man, Maude, yeah, you sit in first class one time. How do you look at other people when they enter the plane?
Yes.
Yeah. So peasants in the back. I think that's very indicative of how we all behave. If we got body modifications to be like Darrow and then got fit into that society, be very difficult not to look down your nose at Fitchner a little bit, even if that's your latent emotion. You might not really believe it or say it, but
I think you wanted me to think this, but when he became the Rage Knight, I was like, how him?
I wanted it to look like he was a keysling, like a yes man.
Yeah.
And to show that he'd been cozying up to power, and then all of a sudden you're feeling a little bit betrayed, and you're wondering what the fuck. But also then you're thinking, oh, he had to duel to get it. Fitchner's kind of a badass.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different emotions that got to play with.
100%. Horgus Borgus says, "It's always been me, boyo."
Yeah.
Great quote.
Oh, I whooped when I wrote that line. Yeah.
I bet. Oh,
Yeah.
I've integrated so much of the language into my vernacular. Boyo, Prime. I wonder when Amazon released Prime, were you just like, fuck you, Amazon?
The series is old enough now that I get annoyed by little things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it an accident? Or is there a Die Hard? Now, this is a bit on the nose, but Peace-Tree, a.k.a. Mighty the Pen, says, "What's your favorite and accurate fan art, and why is it my chibi alphabet?" Parentheses, and don't say PB Doodles, because anyone who knows PB's art is awesome.
Yeah, she did a wonderful alphabet with all the characters. I wish I had the book. I don't have it. But
we'll find it and put it on Discord.
So, yeah, it's all the characters. Any character's name corresponds with the letter, and they're drawn almost like children, and so they're in their little armor and stuff. That's actually a great iteration of it.
Cool.
I'd say that, and Phantom Rim did some amazing stuff. Phantom Rim did some amazing stuff a couple years ago, and we've worked with. I'd say those are probably the best. I mean, Lit Escalates does some work also with artists, PB Doodles being one of them, and so those have been I'd say probably my favorite. Perhaps it's difficult to find one that I think like matches exactly my vision of the world, though. I think each one's a fantastic take.
Oh, isn't
But
that
not everything
interesting?
matches my vision. Yeah.
Because it's like, if you're not like a fully fledged artist that's able to render it, you have this idea and people can get close to it, but to actually sort of completely emulate what's going on. Well, I guess we have to keep making it.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons, even when I put out the graphic novels, and the third graphic novel actually in the Sons of Ares series is, I think, the closest published account of what I think the Red Rising world looks like. But each one is still an interpretation. I think that's the beauty of books, is that you're working with $1 billion budget, the brain of the reader. And I'm reticent to sometimes put out an actual authoritative visual guide because I don't want to co-opt what's in people's heads.
I also loved that reel that you posted last week, the week before, which was that rendition and like that VO sort of like.
Yeah, some people are the VO, yeah, that was really good, wasn't it?
Wow.
Yeah,
that really captured it.
I'll have to post that again or put it on my
story.
So
good. And we'll get it in the Discord as well.
You did a fantastic job. Yeah. It was basically a book trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great stuff. And it was gripping. I thought they do such great jobs with that. The Big Sheep, thanks so much for the follow. My buddy Josh was the one who first recommended the Red Rising series to me a few years ago, and I think I said,
Josh.
I was like, you know what? I've got to make this happen. And now Josh is just like, fuck you, Maude. I can't believe you're reading my favorite series, and now you're hanging out with
Josh.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned him. Yes. And he goes, Hi, Maude, Josh here. I know this isn't book specific, and maybe you have talked about it in past clubs, but can you talk about the development into a TV series or who owns options now? What can you talk about?
Not much, because it's kind of a golden muzzle situation. Basically, originally I had it with Universal. It went into what they call development hell, which means you have lots of different scripts and none of them work and no one wants to put the money behind it. I got the rights back. There were producers who were interested. I wanted to keep the rights, so I kept them for 3 or 4 years, and then because I just didn't want the same thing to happen. And then I put together a creative team, a director, the right kind of producers, as well as finally finding the right writer, because I've iterated it so many times, and I iterated it a lot of times at Universal. Writing screenplays on it that I didn't want to do it anymore.
Fair.
And so it ended up, right now it is with a streamer, but I can't say who, and it's being developed. And the delay is fortunately because they want it to be right, and have a couple times gotten great drafts that they didn't think were right.
Right.
But the cool thing is, the note is to make it even closer to the book series.
Great.
Which, you might believe has been my note the entire time. But that's the operating thesis now. But now we have the writer's strike, so we're on a bit of a pause. And unfortunately, that happened right when we were getting some momentum going. But that's also part of the game. I'm trying to develop this for 9 years, and I've been patient. I think it's the right place.
Yeah.
And if lightning strikes, I think they'll write the huge-ass check that'll be needed to develop it. But the fortunate thing is that it's not good. It's slow in getting made, because I think it's getting made the right way.
Great.
With all this stuff, it's a crapshoot. You hope it turns out good.
You don't want to rush it.
Do.
Yeah, you want to get it right the first time.
And assemble the right players, the right people, the people who think that love it for the same reasons you do, and really understand the tone and the feeling of it. And they're not just doing it because they think it's going to be big or because they want to put their own spin on it. I think that's often been the problem with quite a few adaptations. I mean, when Peter Jackson was making Lord of the Rings, he said that he didn't think it was his job to put any of his opinions or political views into Lord of the Rings. His job was to put J.R.R. Tolkien's political opinions and views into Lord of the Rings. And I thought that to be extremely admirable, and I think that's something that is very lacking often in adaptations.
But being respectful of the source material.
Not only respectful, is and not attaching your own ego to the project.
Yeah, it's not your story, dude. Yeah.
No, making it as a fan. Yeah.
Also, I think
quite difficult. Yeah.
I think this being a movie and this being a show are vastly different ways to tackle a beast, and I think one's a bit more suited quietly.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's thrilled that we had, even if there was only a little bit of news, it was still great news, says Lisa.
Yeah, it's hard because I announced 3 years ago that I would have news shortly, and I thought I would. Then I announced like a year and a half ago, I thought I'd have news, and then I didn't have news. And so it's a bit of a yo-yo feeling, and I feel a little bit bad towards the fan group. So, but any reason that I'm silent is because I just don't want to give you more false positives. You know what I mean?
A new book is coming out soon. I think the fans, I think we're okay. I think we're okay.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a couple more. Catch22 says, some of the best moments in this book are moments where we see pure vulnerability in various interactions with Darrow. Victra to Darrow, Mustang to Darrow, Darrow to Severo, Darrow to Mustang, Darrow with his mother, Darrow and Ragnar to Mustang. In a book that is very much about war and betrayal, was it difficult to give these characters these moments of love, relief, and passion?
Not at all, because that's the entire reason that there's tension and meaning in the violence. The violence, and I kill a lot of characters. And
you asshole.
When you care about them, and then there's violence, and you have these moments of vulnerability, and then there's violence, it makes it feel more real. It makes the world and the story that much more important, I think. And particularly the present immediate tense, you're living it with Darrow, and so I think it enhances the war aspects of it. And also, from the perspective of writing, I'd say those moments are usually the ones I nail in the first or second draft, and the war ones are the ones where I'll say this happens and like leave it blank in bold text and say come back and fix this, come back and make this work.
Yeah,
I get more excited to write those vulnerable character moments because those are the signposts. Those are the reason for the story.
You can tell that it comes from such a special place, and I agree. Like with light needs the darkness, you need balance. If you're going to go full explosion and violent, you need those soft moments as well. And I think no, you go.
I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
You go. No, you go.
Stop it.
And that was our example of those moments.
Yeah. Red Rising series is nothing if not brash, and violent and hard. And so those moments of vulnerability, I think, stand in great contrast, and they form a dichotomy, which is something that's been really fun to work with on this series. And that dichotomy is, if you look at Severo and Fitchner, a lot of the prickly characters, they're so savage on the outside because they're so vulnerable on the inside.
They just want to be loved.
Yeah, and we all just want to be loved, or at least seen. Yeah. And I think that a lot of the hardship in the book is moments where Darrow is proving to people that he can see them. And so then after those moments, they let him see them. And I think those moments are always earned, or try to make them always earned.
They will walk in a shadow. Like, you know what I mean? They step out of a spotlight to walk in a shadow. Like, this is a great Tactus sort of observation where he was ridiculed for being in Darrow's shadow.
But he felt safe there.
The mighty servant. But at the end, he chose that spot because Darrow saw him for who he was.
Yeah.
Oh, that was another one. Game Wizard, who is a member, says, out of these first two books, which character was the hardest to kill off? And Tamezu, who's in the document, said something a little bit similar. Was there a character in Golden Sun whom you found particularly painful to kill? Or who you even had second thoughts about removing from the story?
Lorna Arcos is really hard to kill.
Fuck you for that one. Like, we only just got him. He was a legend that was mentioned throughout the first book. He was a man we fell for. He gave me Odin vibes, you know? This was the father figure, and it's this whole, I will set you up, I will train you, I will teach you, my time has ended.
Yeah.
K. Frito, why Pierce? Why?
Because it elicits that reaction. When Lorn's around, you feel too safe. He has too much to teach Darrow. He is a legend, and you just want to see him fight. But it was my way of pointing out that it's not always fair. You don't get to see him fight. Lila's Song of His Neck is probably the worst ending for a great man like that. But it is the culmination and fulfillment.
He didn't even want to be a part of it.
That's his culmination and fulfillment of his warning to Darrow. And it's also the weight of it to Darrow. He knew he didn't want to be a part of it. And he dragged him in, and he didn't even get to make a difference, really.
No.
And that's what sucks so much.
Forced him to choose. Forced his hand, and then he lost it trying to.
Mm-hmm.
KP Dub says, you left us feeling forlorn. Oh, nicely done, KP Dubs.
Well, that's actually where Lorn's name came from.
No.
Forlorn. So I like taking words. And
is that real?
Yeah.
Shut
it
up.
comes from forlorn. Yeah. I mean, look where you meet him. You meet him on this windswept, wave-stricken castle in the middle of nowhere on a stormy ocean moon. He's lost 4 sons to battle.
Yeah.
He's lived a life in service to something he doesn't believe in anymore. And so I thought of the character, and he felt like the word forlorn to me. So I just said Lorn. Darrow is the same way. Darrow is arrow with a D. It also means spear in Gaelic. But at the same time, I like sometimes making character names almost like onomatopoeia. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So like Victra, very sharp cutting.
I mean, I still have an argument that Virginia's name should have been Maude because it's got AU in it. Augustus.
I felt that would have been too on the nose, Maude.
I mean, you could have given some meaning to this
Too
shitty name that I have, but okay. KP Dub says, well, I'll be. We've got a bunch more questions happening. Oh, wow. Okay, let's talk about Roke. Roke's a big one. Aaron says, did you intend the final chapter of the book to reflect similar to Caesar's assassination by his closest compatriots, with Darrow being stabbed by Roke? And there was another one by Snake who says, did you always intend for Roke to betray Darrow at some point during the narrative? Or was there a point during the creative process where a different member or no member of the friend group would have been the traitor?
There were 2 influences. I think the Garden of Gethsemane, the Judas betrayal, and the Ides of March, Caesar betrayal, that both went into the triumph, as readers call it, for lack of a better expression. And so Roke was initially meant to be the traitor, and then, of course, in subsequent drafts, you go back and then really lace it through and create the reasoning. So it was very clumsy at first, but he was meant to be. But I didn't really feel it finding full form until I got to the end of the book, and didn't have a huge betrayal. I had more of a wedding scene initially with Mustang and Darrow getting married, and Darrow coming into the house.
Oh.
And I sent it to my editor, and he said it didn't work. It didn't give me another option, really. And so I just sat there hitting my head on the keyboard for 2 days. And then I had an epiphany and said, let's go out with a bang. It's the second book. And so that was the first draft. And then on the second, third drafts, you apply layers of paint to make it work. And the narrative then takes shape around that. So that's why first drafts are often hard for me, because you don't have those great moments. The second drafts are so fun because then you're finally making all the epiphanies make sense.
Baden says, clearly not enough people died. Got to change that.
Yeah, clearly not enough people did. Hey, I didn't really know that a lot of people would read these books. So, you know, this is before even Red Rising came out. So I was writing with a degree of ignorance.
Okay, I think we answered that in there. I have one, and I'm not sure if anyone's kind of gone into. Oh, Seb, did Eo the Hound ever meet Zelda the Rescued Princess? Yeah.
They've met.
We're like, be best friends.
Oh, we had such plans in store, and then they just fucked off.
Here we go. As this is a Snake Liquid question. As the novels up to this point have been exclusively from Darrow's perspective, and he has obviously been shown to not have perfect knowledge of all other characters and their relationships to each other, we call that an unreliable narrator. Are there any characters who have undergone, for lack of a better term, off-screen development for their relationships to each other that has either not been or only very slightly been hinted at? Zelda, shut up. She's snoring.
Gosh.
There's an example if you want an example.
I mean, quite a bit. Look at Roke and the Jackal.
Oh, yeah. When did that happen?
The Jackal was seducing Roke the whole time. But we just never saw it. We never got to see it. And he wouldn't have been obvious at first. Wouldn't have been trying to turn him against Darrow.
But Roke also noticed that Darrow and Jackal had gotten close. And that was perturbed. Like, he was perturbed by that.
So who do you think he goes and talks to about it?
The Jackal.
right? And so there's all these little things that are happening behind. Yeah. And that's what makes the book fun from my perspective, and sometimes really frustrates you when you only have that one viewpoint into the story. But it's also sometimes freeing to realize you don't have to show all that.
Right.
But
Yeah. Some of the examples were like Severo and Victor, Victor and Jackal, Victor and
quite a
Rogue.
bit.
Yeah.
And there's a huge amount between the books. Huge amount between the books. Virginia, particularly between book 2 and 3.
Oh.
With a lot of characters.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Snake Liquid also asks, was Roke romantically interested in Tactus? If so, was the feeling reciprocated, or could their bond be better described as that shared by trusted friends or brothers? Not bound by blood, but by choice.
Well, the point is Darrow doesn't know. So that's actually applies very much to the last question as well. Darrow doesn't know what sort of intimacy they had. And I left that somewhat open, and I'm somewhat hesitant to say yes or no based on that. I think in the past I've said yes or no on it. And I think that it's more interesting leaving it up to the reader's mind. And Darrow doesn't know.
Can you spill the... Can you...
Go ahead.
No, finish the sentence because I'm clapping.
I'd say maybe they're romantic. Maybe.
Go Rogue. Sure. I mean, that was the hardest one.
Rogue's a bit of a sexual tramp. Even
Well, he's a lover, not a fighter.
He's a lover. He finds the poetry in everyone.
Yeah, he's a romantic.
Mm-hmm.
I also think he'd be pansexual for sure. He's in love with souls. Okay, I'm getting all caps from Snake as well. We want the tea on Theodora and Ragnar. What the fuck was with that little arm squeeze?
I don't know.
When did that happen? What was that about?
Yeah, that one somewhat evades my ken. I don't remember that arm squeeze. When did the arm squeeze happen?
Snake, arm squeeze. When did it happen? It definitely happened, and it was like in the last sort of third of the book. So time had sort of passed, and it seemed like okay, Frito. Oh, it did.
It happened. It's probably a whole Reddit page.
Right before the rain, says Chuck Rules, O-dubs.
I'll get more info for you. I live in a world where a pink and obsidian can just be friends.
All right, we wanted... Oh, the arm squeeze happened when Mustang's visiting Darrow, says Tamesu.
I imagine that's another one of the...
Maybe.
I mean, there's little moments like that are meant to show the characters have had connections that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
And to me, it was never meant to be romantic in my mind. It was more so these are two kindred spirits because they've both been slaves their entire life.
Yeah, the non-golds that have been shown purpose.
In far different ways. And in my mind, Ragnar would have been kind of terrified to go talk to Theodore, not the other way around. Because Ragnar was a prized gladiator, a prized warrior. He would have been given quite a lot of presents looking like Theodora. And so he would have been taking advantage of other slaves. And I think that he would have had great shame about that. And to me, it was always Theodora who told him that it was forgiven.
Yeah.
Or told him that it was...
It was okay, yeah.
Bad, not okay, but okay.
Yeah, he'll be okay.
Yeah. And
that he's not defined by his past.
Well, that's, I think, sometimes the darker side of tyranny is when the disadvantaged take advantage of the other disadvantaged simply because of how the hierarchy is structured.
Oh, and there is another option. You can become the monster as well.
And it's really hard because you're kind of just functioning within the structure of your civilization. Look at our founding fathers. Also, mostly slaveholders, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you judge someone within the bounds of their civilization, within the rules of their civilization? And I always thought that was an interesting thing with Ragnar, as he was when he was in his 20s and 30s, a prize gladiator, and would have been given those other people as presents, And I think there was, for me, that was always something that I didn't get to explore because Darrow wouldn't be privy to that conversation.
Yeah.
It's
but even like the unveiling of want. What is want? You know, like having.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was fantastic because it's like you're wanting to put me into your box, and I don't live in that box. Yeah, I thought that was really
I mean,
interesting.
look at Ragnar didn't have the family social structure that Darrow had,
Oh, they're in a matriarchy. More of that, please.
and he was sold off to allow the other people in his clan to live with the modicum of peace and freedom. And so all
Choice.
he knew was the Agoge or the Nagoge, the fighting schools.
Snake.
What's that?
Final page of chapter 36. I need to know if he's a tender lover. What are you talking about?
I think they're talking about after the rain, yeah?
After the rain, yeah. Well, final part of chapter.
I think Darrow can love in many ways.
I don't. Am I asking? Is this too personal? I need to know if he's a tender lover. Snake.
I think he can be tender. I think he can be aggressive. It all well, that's Mustang.
Do they have tequila in there? Because that's the difference usually.
Oh yeah, there's only so many amount of things you can distill.
Next question.
Maude's all heated.
How much of the Red Rising lore, as in terms of history, technology, politics, was fully formed at the outset of the series, and how much of it did you find yourself discovering as you wrote each of the novels? Any notable examples? Tamezu.
Yeah, I had about like 20 to 30 pages of lore. Most of it was planetary and family related and history related. And so one of the first things I remember writing down was writing down mankind's history of colonization and how it became the colors in the system, and Selenius Al Loon and his war on Earth. So some of the base mythology, quite a bit of that. And then I remember also creating pages for some of the initial tech and deciding on the camel case, much to some people's frustration, but my own private satisfaction, that some of the stuff that I wrote down when I was 22, didn't think anyone was reading this book, and it's just a list of bullshit tech I made up, and it's really fun to have seen it find its way through the book. Sometimes
you have added it.
Yeah,
great,
I have this old notebook around here somewhere.
That's great.
Yeah, and so I remember putting it all together, and I thought I was going to create this great old Bible for it so that I could have this fully fleshed out world. And then I just got so damn excited to write it, and everything just took off, and I kind of left that in the dust, so to speak.
Oh. Well, I feel like we're getting introduced to more tech every single book as well. I like that.
And so, yeah, a lot of it fills in. Yeah. Yeah. Here's, oh man.
You got one?
Yeah, I got one of the initial notebooks. Yeah. So I have like House Barca here.
Yeah. What? No, that way.
I mean, I can't.
Yeah, there it is. That's better. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So you see elements of it, so you have Bryn of Triton, Severo, Barca, you have the dates, you have the Victor Julii, then you have the kids, and then the kids like eventually expand. So the Victor thing was, I knew before. Then you have like the House Ra and the Sods and things like that. So.
Oh wow, you really okay? That's cool.
Yeah, so I went a little nerdy on it, and there's another one of these around here, which is a bit older than this even, and so it has more of the original stuff.
Family
but I
trees.
don't know where it is.
We've got sort of 5 minutes left. There's a couple of things I want to get through.
Waiting. Maybe next time we talk, I'll find it.
Last time we spoke, you said I was Antonia. This book, I feel like I'm still solidly 65-70% Mustang, 30% Victra though. Why introduce us a character like Victra, flesh her out, make her vulnerable, make us love her, make her loyal, kill her?
Guess I'll have to read book 3.
Okay. Okay, good. Next question. Catch 22. Are Mustang and Severo the real heroes of this story? I feel like we are witness to them rescuing Darrow time and time again. By my count, he has been rescued by one or both of them 4 times already, with another one on the way, judging by the end of Golden Sun. So are Mustang and Severo the real heroes? I
think the real heroship, or the real moral lesson in this, and what makes Darrow different from other Golds, is that he has friends who will do stuff for him. who will risk their lives for him. And I think that it goes to the theme of the series, particularly Darrow's evolution. Yeah, he's fucking terrifying in the battlefield. Yeah, he's a great tactician. Yeah, he can launch himself at battleships, but he still can't find his way out of every situation.
Yeah.
But his strength is he has all these other heroes on his side. Darrow isn't a hero. Darrow is necessary. I think that Mustang and Severo are heroes.
Mm.
So I look at Darrow as
That's built
he's a man
on
who'll
trust.
get his hands dirty. Yeah, his hands will get dirty, and it goes back to him getting whipped for Tactus in in Red Rising. And so while Darrow has to have his ass saved a lot of times, also because he's doing crazy ass shit. I mean, he tried to like go attack the Sovereign single handedly
What an idiot.
and go kill her. Right? Well,
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'll do it.
I'll do it. But
Yeah.
it also makes it so fucking fun. But that's also Darrow. And how many people do we know in our lives who really, I mean, the ones who really got ahead, they're kamikazes. They're kamikazes who will have 5 companies that have gone bankrupt or something, but then their 6th one will be $1 billion company.
I was seeing it more like if you were in jail, what one call could you make to get bail?
Oh yeah. Well, phone a friend. Who do you phone actually, Maude? Mustang or Severo?
Sev knows me 100%. Sev knows me inside and out and has accepted me wholly. Do you know what the most important thing that someone can do is accept all of you? And Mustang hasn't done that yet. So there you go. Vaden, last question. Unlike most other media, there is a lot of description of characters puking, shitting, wiping away snot, the other similar actions that show the filthy side of humans. Was this decision intended to bring the characters down to earth as opposed to being glorified, or was there another purpose to this?
Yeah. Combination. I think some of my favorite stuff to read is really gritty military historical fiction. And the grit of, well, there's quite a lot of science fiction fare out there. There's quite a lot of Star Wars out there. And so you seek to differentiate yourself. And I think that part of what makes Red Rising different is the grossness of it, is the grittiness of it. And while
it's very George R.R. Martin, actually, I think.
Well, George is a big influence on me, you know?
Yeah.
I read him when I was in my teenage years. I read him before I was a writer.
He's the only writer that's managed to make me retch when reading.
Yeah. And while I don't go to his extremes,
no,
they're
golds after all, darling.
I don't feel it's necessary for this book, because I think this book series is a bit different than Game of Thrones. For sexuality, for instance, that could really lean into it, but I don't feel like it's as key to the central heart of this book. I'm not trying to make it that gritty or that disillusioning. It's still a heroic archetypal story. And even in the next series, the tetralogy that follows this trilogy, starting with Iron Gold, while it does get more in the weeds and grittier, it still doesn't take it to like the levels that George R. Martin does.
No.
There we go.
They cut open a body with maggots.
Tetralogy. Isn't that a great word?
Petrology. I do like it. I think that's all the time we have. There was a question in here from KP Dubs about the numerous scenes involving battle, large and small scale, in which you describe tactics and strategies.
You can ask it. Go ahead.
What, if any, experience or studying do you draw experience from for this? Is there a historical battle that you have particular interest in?
Quite a lot of battles I have interest in, spanning from World War II all the way back to the Greeks. So kind of, I would say it starts with the late 590s in the Persian invasion of Greece, kind of all the way to about 31 BC is my real main military fascination. But then I'm also fascinated with World War II and the introduction of incredible machines to the battlefield. But I'd say the battles of the Peloponnesian Wars, the battles of the Persian invasions, but also the Roman battles, particularly during the Civil War era, were very influential because they're very humanistic, because you still have to stab someone with your sword or hit him with your javelin. You're not shooting him from your ship. There's a reason I don't have dogfighting and too much. Yeah, I don't have dogfighting in the Red Rising series. And if you look at Star Wars, dogfighting is a huge part of it because it's based on World War II.
We also have, you do human projectiles instead.
Yeah, well, it's all about, and it kind of goes to the theme of, of the golds. They want everything to be a projection of what an individual is capable of.
Mm.
So they want to aggrandize themselves.
I
and
killed
their
him with
violence.
my hand. He was smited.
With my hand, exactly. It's
Yeah.
the same reason they don't want AI. It's the same reason, and all that stuff is also to make it more fun. Because if they had AI, there'd be a lot of stuff that's not very fun. If they had robots that were harvesting the
like
minerals, it wouldn't be a lot of fun, right? Yeah. So
it was like in that
'cause they're
game that you got
humanists.
me to buy, where it's like you get
Yeah.
hacked because you're half cyborg, and it's like, and you're done.
Cyberpunk. Yeah,
Cyberpunk
2077. Yeah.
That's the one.
And then there's also those guys like Nero who just don't trust machines. But go ahead.
No, I was trying to get the book, and there's a memorabilia on top of it that I can't wedge it out, but it's Morningstar that I'm trying to retrieve.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, what I was going to say is, like, last time we spoke about Red Rising, I was like, what can I expect from Golden Sun? What can I expect from Morningstar?
What did I say about Golden Sun?
I was like, is it going to be more of this? And you were just, you remember you went sinister, and you were like, wait.
Well, you're going to bawl your eyes out at least once. There is a lot of heartache, a lot of hope, a lot of redemption, and a lot of scores being settled, and closure of most of the, almost all the arcs that are open right now.
Trauma. Expect trauma, says chat.
Trauma. There's some trauma. I've had funny enough, I've never had anyone throw a book at me because of Golden Sun. I have had someone throw a book at me because of Morningstar.
I know, won't be the last.
Won't be the last. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Let's plug the fact that you are doing big things with your next book. When's that one coming out? How can people get it?
That one is coming out July 25th. They can pre-order it pretty much anywhere. However, Barnes & Noble has autographed copies available. And you can also check the link tree on my website. On my Instagram at Pierce Brown Official in order to find more links if you want to shop locally.
Great.
I encourage people to shop through their local bookstore and just to have their local bookstore order it. And that is a good way of supporting me, the series, but also your local bookstore. And it's also fun, I think, to have pre-order a book, have it delivered to the bookstore, and then go pick it up. It makes, we live in 2023, and sometimes I feel like you just got to pretend you live in 1999, more like.
There it is.
Just go pick it up, and it's more fun. It's analog. I still don't read on a Kindle or anything like that. I still read a book. I still like having that tangible thing.
Flip pages.
So yeah, that's Lightbringer, and this hefty tome right here.
How thick? Oh, it's a thick boy. Okay.
Nice and fat. 705 pages.
All right.
So there's more that awaits you guys.
Let's make that happen. We've just linked Pierce's Instagram in the chat. If you haven't clicked it and followed Pierce, do so now. Support local bookshops. Thank you so much, Pierce, for the wonderful Q&A this time. Sorry about the little hiccup. We are going to be reading Morningstar in July to celebrate the fact that Lightbringer is coming out. So continue that series with Maude's Book Club. Thank you, Pierce, for everything.
Thanks, Maude. Thank you guys for all your questions, and I'll catch you on the next one.